Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, today we're going to take a look at Coinbase, ticker symbol COIN. This was requested by a commenter in a previous video. If you have a stock that you would like me to cover, please drop the ticker symbol in the comments below. Just the ticker symbol, not the company name. And if I respond to your comment and say that I've added it to the list, then you can rest assured I'll get to it. If I don't respond, please drop the comment again in a few days just to put it back to the top of my queue. Otherwise, it could have gotten lost in the mix. All right, so Coinbase, pretty fresh IPO here since mid-April, and obviously came in pretty hot and heavy in the 300s, and then has come down quite a bit since then. But there are a few things that I'm seeing here. If we want to take a look at the trend line, so 208, let's see how far back this draws. I don't know if it'll go all the way back here to 208, but let's see. Yeah, so this is capturing this sort of like lower trend line that we see that captures these bodies, this wick, obviously this wick here, and could be the next sort of level if it does come down to test it this far, that Coinbase could hold this slightly upward direction or repetitive nature of making slightly higher lows. Now on the flip side of that, it's clearly making a bunch of lower highs as well, which puts it then into a wedge formation, which could, down the line, if and when these things collide, which will be quite some time. I'm going to screw this up if I mess with it too much. So I'll just leave this here, and if it all ends up holding this, then we'll just revisit it in another video, and when we can sort of compress these even further. But this puts this on a collision course probably close to the end of the year. I mean, this is into December already, and still some space. Now, whether or not the price will continue to compress in between these two zones tightly is certainly questionable. But something to watch for, and if it does, as it gets near the end and it gets very, very confined in a very, very tight zone, you might see some fairly large movements coming out of the stock. It doesn't have to, but sometimes it's a sign that that's sort of like coiling up, building a base, however you want to think of it, and then it's going to unleash that sort of like pent-up energy or potential momentum in one direction or the other. But just keep in mind, it could go strongly in either direction. So you just have to watch and see what's happening. Just because you want it to go up or down doesn't mean that it's going to. Now, on the MA side of things, at this point, it's in a fully bearish formation. I mean, it's caught under both of the MAs and doesn't have support of either of them. If we look back here, the price action is pretty kind of boring since these drawdowns, but if we look where it most recently caught support, that would be here with this area. If we draw that back, we see this was previous resistance and previous support that flipped to resistance, and resistance that flipped to support in the interim. And then if we look further back than that, the resistance point that it hits after it was able to get support there was here, which makes sense. It was support here that flipped to resistance here. So this would be the next level up that I'd be looking for it to potentially kind of struggle with. I'm just going to take these MAs off to clean things up a little bit. 254.60. I'm also going to change the color of this so that if and when I come back to it, I'll be able to know what it is that I was drawing. Okay. So this is sort of the range that I would look for it to struggle in between. This like 239-ish support area and then this 254.60 resistance area. Now, if it can't hold this 239, the first thing that I would look for it to hold is this upper trend line. That to me would be the most important thing. Now, it may catch support before that. We see a pretty good support here because it was previous support and resistance here and here and here. So a lot of activity there, but that's going to be out of the lower bound of the trend line here in about, late October. So it has about another month to catch additional support there and still stay within this wedge or this flag that we've put in. Now, if we want to stick one resistance level to the upside in case it does get some momentum going, I would look at this one here as the next area where it was flipping support to resistance a couple of times recently. Doesn't draw back super strong to the previous price activity. I mean, I guess a little bit, flipped there, resistance to support, but then kind of blew through it here. But 266.52 would be another area to look for it. If it's going to go through and then go out of the upper trend line there, that could be a really good sign that there's some potential for spikiness in the price and could be showing run-up potential. And if we look, thing I would look for if it does bump itself out, and I'll just put this quite far over here, is what it does in this box here, because this encompasses a lot of the previous topping outs, probably even down a little bit. This is sort of like a potential danger area for it. And see if it kicks off of that. And obviously, if it does kick off of it but holds this 266, that's a good sign because it's holding its near support. And the more that it can put pressure on this box, the more it could consume the selling pressure that exists there. And once it exhausts it, it could make a really big move to the upside. Depending on how much it compresses the price action within these areas between the white lines, it could also just explode through pretty rapidly. Again, this is if it goes to the upside, it doesn't have to, and could kind of blow through that pretty quickly if it has some strong tailwinds at its back. Now, for the near term, obviously it's testing this support at the moment, and it does have these catch zones below that we talked about. It's in a slightly... Yeah, I mean, it's picking up bearish momentum on the MACD. I couldn't tell if it was curling in, but it's not. And is getting pretty into pretty oversold territory on the RSI. If we look back here, yeah, I mean, because it's been consolidating so much, it just hasn't made really any strong movements on the RSI. Hasn't really proved to be that helpful, to be honest. And even the MACD, yeah, it hasn't really led you a lot. I mean, had you seen this upward momentum coming while the price was moving slightly down and sideways, you could have picked up that there was a swing coming, but that was old at this point, and it's just sort of like one minor indication. Nothing super clear on the MACD or the RSI, in my opinion. I think that this wedge and these supply and demand zones are providing more clear understanding of what's going on and what you could look for in the days and weeks ahead. Now, quick look at the data. There is, especially for a stock that's so high price and high value, that's not me saying it's overvalued, just that it's got a larger market cap. Return potential from analysts, 35.81%. That's really, really strong in a stock this size. So if that sort of yields any strength, then that could bring in some pressure as well. A lot of sells coming out, which as folks get unlocked and start to unload shares, then that's certainly understandable as well. As that dies down, which there's still a lot coming out in the last month, as you see, yeah, sort of pretty incessant. Oh, I guess we won't have 12 months back, but yeah, pretty incessant quarter over quarter. And so once that sort of subsides, and that may add as well to some stabilization and some ability for retail or institutions to make a bigger impact on the bullish momentum or swing of Coinbase. On the short side of things, not really much to talk about. Sitting here in the pretty low digits, same with the utilization. So luckily for Coinbase, at the moment at least, shorts aren't coming in to try to take advantage of this sort of little bit of down ticking that's been happening since the IPO and try to shove it down further. So in my opinion, that's a good sign just for the aspect of you don't have added undue selling pressure from short sellers coming in to further distort the stock price. All right, well, good luck if you're in Coinbase. I certainly wish you the best, and I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.